Hey, my ADHD family, welcome to another episode of ADHD Love Parent Talk, where we talk about all things ADHD. I am Yakini. Today, I have my guest, Godwin. I'm very excited about talking with him because I wanted to have more men talk about their ADHD journey and their story. So I am really excited to have him on as my guest. Before we get started, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. And after you watch this video, make sure you hit the like button if you like the content. All right, Godwin, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Really, really good. So it's a beautiful day here. It's like 50s for us. That's like huge, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So yes, it's a beautiful day. And how are things with you?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm doing pretty well. I've got weather-wise, we do British thing. We do the weather. There's loads of trees on their side because we are having a bit of a storm thing at the moment.
Okay.
So I was having a little joke with my friend earlier. So instead of going, oh look, squirrel, I'm now going, oh look, homeless squirrel, because all the trees are on the floor. So there is that, and it's cold. But so being indoors is a great idea at the moment.
I hear you. I hear you. So please tell the audience a little bit about you.
Okay, will do. Well, what about me? My name's Godwin. I am, I'm from the UK, United Kingdom. I am 48 years old, maybe 49, 48, I think. One of those. I'm at the age where I forget. So I'm in my late 40s. I am a certified coach, and which I've been coaching for about a year. The reason why I'm here, I have ADHD, late diagnosed. About me, I've had that kind of typical ADHD sort of up until now point. There's been lots of jobs, lots of relationships, lots of things. So I'm a jack of all trades and a master of maybe some of them. I'm the master of being a jack of all trades. I would put it that way. I'm quite creative. I like DJing, like playing music. The music I listen to is probably I like dance music. Probably too old for dance music, but it keeps me fit, dancing around. And what else? Yeah, I'm not sure what else really.
What type were you diagnosed with?
I am inattentive,
Okay.
so I'm I'm internally hyperactive, as opposed to outwardly. Unless I've had a drink, then I'm a bit more hyperactive than usual. I haven't had a drink for a while, because I would say I'm 6 foot, black guy, so you can't have me jumping around because it scares people. So it really does. So I've tended to try and keep calm and carry on. I was diagnosed when I was 33.
Okay.
After trying to find out what exactly is going on. Because I was, I think the thing I always kind of knew something was up from when I was really young, but I didn't know what it was. So and it's quite hard to find out really, because if you don't know, then you kind of get labeled with other things. So you think it's that until you get to a point where you can actually do your own research. At the good old age of
33.
It was like, oh, yeah, there's this thing that I haven't even thought of, because apparently you're not meant to have it because you're not white and you're not a kid. So it's that was quite cool to find out, and I'm more impressed with the fact that my doctor, he would not, when I happened upon ADHD, he was like, no, you possibly not. And it took 4 years. So when I got diagnosed, it was like 4 years previous that I kept on going back and saying, I'm not depressed. I'm not depressed. I'm not depressed. I'm maybe a bit unhappy now, but I'm not depressed. And then in a huff, he kind of referred me, going like, right, I'll just send you. And he did. And went back to him, like, I think like the next week afterwards, and I was like, I told you. He wasn't impressed, because you can't tell a doctor that, you know,
Right.
that you're right as the patient. So yeah.
That is
So
too
that was
funny.
kind of
But
good.
I mean, to your point, I mean, you know, right? We always talk
Mm,
about in our ADHD world that you just know when something is not right. And you also, when you're
mm,
really connected to some of the symptoms of ADHD, it's like, yeah, I think this is what's going on with me,
mm.
right? Even
Yeah,
though others may
yeah,
not believe it, right?
yeah. Because it's one of those things where I find it like, what happened to me was I was basically um, trolling the internet, and I read this one guy's story, and I remember it till like it was yesterday. And the guy was, I think he was in his 40s, like
Mhm.
41, 42, and literally his story, I could have written it word for word, like,
Mm,
and it wasn't like, I've read symptoms of depression, symptoms of bipolar, and
mhm.
none of these things like didn't even fit. They were
Yeah.
like, but since I read the story, I burst into tears, because it was just like, what the hell? And it was amazing. It was like, this guy has written my story from when I was a kid,
Mm,
through my growing up, through school, through work. And it was, as I say, it was like, yeah, it rocked me. So I was in tears, like literally. And then I went to my doctor, and because it was so, how can I say, it was is the word visceral, right? Because it was so powerful, the like the way it hit. Like, there was no way my doctor was going to tell me that it's something else. I was like, this is what it is. This is what, that's, I now know what it's called. I now know what to do. But that's another that part, that I now know what to do. Yeah,
right.
that's
Understood.
I'm still trying to
Understood.
find out.
Yeah, we're all growing in this, especially late
Yeah,
diagnosed.
yeah.
Because, like you, I was diagnosed late. I was actually diagnosed at 45. So,
Mm,
and I'm 47 now, 45, I think it was. So, to your point, I actually recognized the symptoms through my children as I was going, through the journey
mm,
with them. And so, to really understand yourself, it's like, amazing, but I'm still learning, right?
mm.
There's just still
Yeah,
so much to learn because it wasn't part of my life ever,
yeah.
right? Not until these last couple of years. Well, it
Mhm,
wasn't part of my life until the last couple of years, but it's been a part of my life through my children for the last several years. So,
mhm.
but
It's
yeah,
almost
once I
like
connected,
getting,
yeah, yeah, once I
it's like
connected to it,
getting
it was
to know
amazing.
someone. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's almost like, because you know it, and it's like this. It's like a stranger that you know, and it's
right,
like,
right.
yeah, it's like, it's, and that's what I'm kind of, the bit I'm going through now isn't the fact. I don't think it's the fact of ADHD. It's all the other things that I've kind of put up to not have the symptoms of ADHD,
Mm,
because I was getting in trouble for those things,
right,
getting mislabeled for those things.
right.
So I'm trying to like go, how do I get back to that? Because it's actually, I felt okay. Like,
Mm,
I've often said to people, like, put me in a room on my own. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. It's like, do
mhm,
trees make a sound if they fall over in the forest or whatever? I'm like that. If I'm in a room on my own, do I have ADHD or do I not? Do you know what I mean? And
mm,
I'm kind of, yeah, I do, but it doesn't make a difference. As soon as I step outside, it's like, oh right, I can't, I must not do that. I can't, don't think that, don't say that. All these do's and don'ts, or don'ts and don'ts, so to speak. So yeah, I'm trying to get rid of those things. Um, you know, um, which is quite difficult, because yeah, I'm not sure what I meant to do at 48,
mm.
which I could get away with when when I was like, oh, that's inappropriate, but you're like 10, so that's all right, because you don't know any better. Can I be an inappropriate at like 40 odd? I don't know. Well, I'm kind of looking forward to finding out, to be honest. To see. I've got to just, yeah, be a bit braver about that bit.
That's too funny. So is it a conversation that you have? Do you share this with your friends and family? Because I know some people, even though they find out, they still are afraid of that label or what people will think of
Mm.
them. So do you share?
Um, it's yeah, good question. Family wise, possibly not. Like, my brother knows, because my dad even filled out, because over here we you fill out the form for yourself. You have your parent fill out the
Mhm,
form, and if you have a partner, they fill out a form.
mhm,
So at that point, even for me, that validation was like, oh well, it's not just me. Like, everyone else is answering the questions of their own accord. But say after that, the only person I probably spoke to about it after that was my girlfriend at the time. My dad was kind of like, okay, filled out, and there was nothing else said. You know, it was just kind of, you know, whether he would understand or not, or you know, it was I don't even know what he understood of filling out the form at the time. But it's kind of one of those not mentioned type things. You know, and yeah, it's weird. It's obviously it's the culture thing as well. Yeah. You know, which I find bizarre, because it's like that whole mental health thing. Like, you know, for starters, men have got, you know, stereotypically, you want to say, meant to be tough, don't cry, blah blah blah. Right. Then you have black men, and I don't know what they've got to do that and then some. So right. There's a lot of things that you can't really go around saying, because people just think you're a bit crazy. But then I've seen crazy black dudes, you know, and it's kind of like those ones you see, they're out and out crazy. Like, there's no sort of what's it called, imbalance maybe. Mm-hmm. It's either you are not crazy, but you kind of, all that means is that you don't say nothing about it, or you're at the other end of the spectrum where it's just like, I'm running down the street in winter topless with no shoes on, and people are just going to stay away from me. There's no sort of in between, and that's, you know, so in that respect, the people that you get to talk to they're not necessarily the same as you are, but they, like with ADHD, it's not a color thing, which is probably a blessing, really, because then I can still express myself and have something in common with people that aren't the same as me. Gotcha. So in that sense, it's a blessing, but I wish that more people of color or of other different cultures would be able to tap into that. Yeah. But then that's a different conversation, because it's like, but they're not the same as, they won't understand, because they're not the same as me. They don't understand that I'm trying to hide it, you know, and so then it comes into a color thing or a race thing, which I think is, ADHD is not, you know, ADHD loves everybody equally. You know, it's like, right. But we have to understand, that's where we have to understand it. So, you know, it's a hard one. So yeah, in answer to your question, the people that I talk to wouldn't be like kind of family, but as I'm thinking about it, I don't know if they know, like, you know, like, because it's just how I am. So maybe it's kind of like, you know, you have that weird uncle, but you don't talk to him about why he's weird. You just know that he's weird. So maybe, but I've got nieces, so maybe I'm that weird uncle. They're just like, yeah, he talks a bit too much, and he's like, jumps up and down the stairs, and he's got grey hair, he's got grey beard. But maybe that's just how it is, you know. Okay. So it's one of those ones. But I don't think I'd advertise it.
That's really interesting. It's really interesting to hear that, because I mean, you're right, culturally, and there's a lot of cultures like ours where we don't have that conversation. We do not share, you know, mental health situations. We just don't. And it's kind of taboo to talk about it. But for those who really want to share information and share what's going on with them, what would your advice be? I mean, I know you may not talk about it, but for those who do want to, what would your advice be to them?
I would say, first and foremost, is there is a slight separation. You kind of have to separate it, because it's ADHD, it's your thing, it's your personal self. So you have to accept that it's yours, and this is even before color gets into it, because it's deeper than color, isn't it, really? Because it's biological, it's genetic. Correct. So it goes deeper than that. So you have to understand those difficulties first. And I think that was the hardest thing for me to kind of come to terms with, because even though I knew something was wrong, having the name of it didn't make it any easier to understand it. It kind of, in a sense, made it like harder, because it's like, oh, right. Because there's a thing with ADHD where, like, maybe understanding routines or understanding something, you go like, am I understanding it right? Is that the thing? Is that what I've got? Is, because you've constantly either been told something else, or you're trying to tell yourself it's not what it is. Then the more that you see other people, like the thing what I find amazing about it is, like, there'll be things that I would call them quirks or little, like, foibles that I do, that I think it's only me doing it, and I mention it to someone and they go, that's exactly what I do, and I'm like, but that's like in my brain, that's the thing I do. How do you? And it's like, yeah, and you just see that similarity. It's welcoming. It's really supportive. So I would say for anyone, it's not, if you find, it's about finding like-minded people at this stage, because and then hopefully the more like-minded people that kind of come together, they will be all different colors, of different facets, of different lifestyles or whatever, because I think you'd have to look for the like-minded first, and then the other stuff will follow. Because I think looking for a black guy or a black person with ADHD, that'll be harder, because if they're not on the same level, then you're basically holding your own personal discovery. You're holding that back. So, yeah, I would say look for a community of support rather than the same, same color community, because ADHD is a community in itself. So, and it's open to, as I say, those people that are worried about, oh, I can't talk about this with somebody else.
Right.
You can talk about it with this community. So, yeah, I would say just look for community rather than culture, in a sense.
Yeah, it's really interesting to listen to you. As a person that represents color, I want to make sure that I'm doing my part to get the information out there. And I always get direct messages saying, it is so great to hear a Black woman really talk about mental health very openly. But to your point, even just doing interviews like this, finding other Blacks or Hispanics or Asians, I mean, it's really hard to find a lot of people in that culture openly talking about it, right? And because, like you said, it really is like an ADHD community, but you don't see a lot of color, right? I mean, it's a very small percentage of color for whatever reason. I mean, there's so many reasons why people don't talk about it. Every culture is different. But it's so powerful when I do find somebody of color, right? It is just so powerful, because it is another person that really understands me on another level, right? We may have overall different experiences in our life, but as a person, as another Black person, or another Black woman, they really can understand a little bit more of what I have gone through or what my kids are going through, right? So having that representation has been, even though it's light, the few that I've connected with, it's just been very powerful. But to your point, your starting place is going to be a community of ADHDers, period, right? So connecting with others who on the surface can really relate to what's going on and can really share different things with you. So it's interesting.
And just on lastly on that, I think as well, it's in the scheme of things, it's still in its infant stages, even in medical terms. Like, it was only recently that they knew that you could have it as an adult. Like in the last 20 years or so, in that same period, they only realized that, oh, girls can have it as well. Then girls can have it as they grow older. That's why, as you said earlier, that you were late diagnosed in your 40s, and a lot of women nowadays are getting the same things. And they, like, I know a few of my female friends that are like, they are going for diagnoses, and they're getting diagnosed with ADHD. So I think it's one of those things where it's just going to grow. So you say we're early adopters. So as long as I'd rather be there to welcome the people in and say like, yeah, because ADHD people, if some of us are kind of, we get there early, maybe sometimes too early, that it's that time blindness thing. I'm here on time, I'm here too early, so we might have to wait around a bit for people to catch up. But as I say, the more it goes on and the more because we just need to connect up. But I think it probably will work the inside way out, like where this could change a cultural aspect rather, then people will be able to talk more about, because ADHD is it's one of those things where, there is that thing of, it's only for white people. That's probably why some people, apparently to some cultures, like white people are really ill. They have all the illnesses, they have all the things, and every other culture doesn't. But ADHD could be that, gateway, because it is like, if you talk to somebody else and you realize that they actually almost like think the same as you, you're going to have to kind of go like, oh, okay, then they're not that ill, because I can't be that ill. So maybe from the inside out, it might be a good thing. So as I say, I think it might be, as they said in Rome, build it and they will come.
So just to close it up, is there anything that we have missed, anything that you've learned from your journey, anything that you would like to share with the audience?
What I've learned from my journey, what I've learned is I'm still on my journey. It's which is quite a bizarre thing, because to think about it, because an ADHD mind kind of wants to know when things are going to be finished, because otherwise it's going to take ages. It's kind of, I'm going to be here for a while. So as long as I'm here, it's going to be here. But I think the biggest thing for me is accepting it. You have to kind of unaccept the treatment that you've had, because if I can just go back to when I was diagnosed, and I think a lot of people, maybe ADHD can resonate with this, but you go through it's almost like a bereavement stage, because you're like, oh my God, I had this thing and nobody else noticed, and that I could have had so much help. Why didn't what's wrong with, and you just start blaming the whole world because they did not realize that there was something wrong with you, and then you start hating the world. But then what I had to do, and what helped me at that point, was realize that they didn't know. Do you know what I mean? It's like they weren't to know. So I found out. So it's up to me. So I'm always going to have to know what it is. And to know things, I have to know, for one, that how I was treated and how I got messages, that wasn't my fault. I have to know that so I can move forward, because before, that's all I knew, because that's what I was told, and that's how I was treated, and that's how, so there's this balance of like, right, I've got my diagnosis, I know what it is, so I need to, understand that I didn't know what was wrong then, so I can't blame myself for those things. I'd have to move forward and look at the qualities, and because I think ADHD is fun. It makes you different. It makes you stand out. It makes people realize for some reason that you've got ADHD. And I often think about ADHD that there's this in between, like we kind of exist in an in between. Because if I'm honest, the amount of things I've got away with, which I think is just because I have an ADHD existence, like I'm not like 9 to 5 type person, or like, whatever it is. So people don't really, my responses to something might be different. They're like, just go on in, mate. I don't know what you've done. I can't work it out. But you just go ahead. If I do work it out, I don't have the same responses. So you can, it's almost like you can go through things. So I like that little secret ninja aspect of it. It might just be me, or I might just be lucky, but it's looking at the qualities. But those qualities aren't just ADHD, they are you as a person. Because I think those two things, when you get told certain things about when you're younger, you take it on board as yourself, as a person. So it's good to know that as a person, you are okay, you are fine. You just have this extra special thing. And I'm not going to go into the superpower, blah, 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 but you are special, you are different. And it's, when you think about it, you would, and look at the qualities, they will probably outweigh the negatives that you've been told by other people. So yeah, it's try and listen to yourself more, your true self more, rather than what you've been told self less.
No, that makes perfect sense. So for you, have there been any like resources that really helped you, whether it be books, podcasts, YouTube channels?
Yeah, because I was thinking about this, because I would have to say I've relied and found a lot more warmth or support and information from communities, like community type things. So whether that be support groups, whether that be you know, like just a room full of people with ADHD, like WhatsApp groups or whatever. Anyone that has ADHD that has a little group, I find, because I don't mind. Well, no, I was gonna tell like a blatant lie. I don't like reading stuff. I was gonna say, yeah, I don't mind reading. No, I don't like reading, so because I don't know what I'm reading. I read it and I'm like going, did I take that in? No. So I'm like, I can read really fast, and it's like, yeah, because you're not taking nothing in. And if my brain was to go, yeah, but you need to read that again because you haven't taken it in, part of my brain goes, yeah, I already read it. You know what I mean? That's you. If you've missed out, you've missed out. So I'm like, I'm with you then. Someone knows what it is. So I tend to like the more talky type thing. So I go for groups. I mean, yeah, I've got to say, my man Halliwell, anything by him is awesome. Because but I would definitely say if you can get yourself into a group, because I think books and stuff are okay. I'm not knocking them, but you can't beat like talking to people and having it there, and you know, you can, because those books are written by doctors, and you know, it's a bit, sometimes it can be a bit clinical and a bit sort of, they're not personal enough. They're broad spectrum, but they're in the broad scheme of things. But if you want that sort of, okay, when you come away from a situation, you're just like, wow, okay, yeah, go do something. So go Clubhouse, go join a WhatsApp group, or even join like you know, one of those organizations that have things like that. Because I think that's because we're social creatures, and we're probably even more social with ADHD. But yeah, we're good together being social. So
okay, all right. And then if they have any questions for you, Godwin, any, you know, they just want to pick your brain or just find out about your coaching program, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, it's quite easy. I'm not sure if it shows on here, but I have a coaching, I'd say, practice called Coaching Adds Up. It's very clever, I must say, because it's called Coaching Adds Up, like ADD. Yeah, you know, if you have to explain it, it's probably not as good. But I like to explain it because I made it up and it's fantastic. But yeah, it's coachingadsup.com. I have a website there, or you can also contact me on, it's Godwin at coachingadsup.com. I'm also in Clubhouse. I do a room there Wednesdays, which is 128questions.com. Hello to Brandy and Catherine. And yeah, so I'm there. And as I say, any questions, I'm happy to answer. And yeah, I think that's kind of where I am, where I can be got at. And I'm open to answer questions, and I like meeting anyone that with a neurodiverseness to them.
Oh, that's great. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on. So you and I met through Clubhouse probably about a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's over a year
over
ago
a year,
I had my little balloon. I even missed my own Clubhouse birthday balloon party. So yeah, by one day, I didn't even get my balloon. So yeah.
It's funny you said that, because I came on the right day and everybody's like, you have this balloon. And I'm like, what's this balloon? Because I hadn't been on for a while.
Yeah.
That is
I was annoyed. Funny. I was like, really? You know, but as I say, you just have to accept it. Okay, I missed it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm glad we got to actually see each other in person. So thank you so much for coming on.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. It's been awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
All right, everyone, that closes up another episode of ADHD Love Parent Talk. If you want more content like this, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell, because every time a video comes out, you will be notified. And if you like this content, again, make sure you hit that like button. All right, everyone, have a wonderful day. Bye. Bye, Godwin.
Bye.